தினம்தோறும் விளக்கேற்ற நல்ல எண்ணெய் இதயம் நல்லெண்ணெய்.
அகாடமி உங்களுக்குள் இருக்கும் தலைவரை வெளிக்கொண்டு வரும் பியூர் பாலிடிக்ஸ் பயிற்சி பட்டறை. நேரடி மற்றும் இணைய வழி. கான்டாக்ட் 7338824242.
Scindia, Union Minister of Communications, Shri Arif Mohammad Khanji, Governor of Bihar. I welcome you all, and now I invite Mr. Akbar to the stage to take over from here. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. I think for me to introduce anyone on the stage will be stupidity. So we shall just proceed with the evening's or afternoon's proceedings. I have to begin by saying that I have no words to convey my gratitude, not only to the people on the stage, but to each one of you. Thank you for being here. It's a 12th book is probably as difficult as a 12th child, and, very difficult to explain the labor and the work that goes into it. For you all to be with me at this moment is a privilege. Thank you. May I request my friend Arif to begin the proceedings, please. We go back really a very long way.
Honorable Union Defence Minister Shri Rajnath Singh ji, Honorable Union Minister for Communication Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, National Security Advisor Shri Ajit Doval ji, Chairperson Prime Minister Museum and Library Shri Nirpendra Mishra ji, author of the book Shri M.J. Akbar, ladies and gentlemen. So we have another must-read book from Shri M.J. Akbar, the master wordsmith, on a subject which is unusual but highly interesting, that is the role played by the astrology and the astrologers during the Mughal rule in India. I received a copy of his book 2 days back, and I must say that I do not regret that the last 2 nights the book denied me adequate. The eloquent and witty writing style with fascinating anecdotes explaining the obsession of Mughal rulers with zodiac signs. I am not aware of the zodiac sign under which Akbar Sahib was born, but I have no doubt in my mind that Ma Saraswati must have smiled and looked with special affection at the newborn and blessed him with Tapa Swadhyay Niritam, ever devoted to the pursuit of knowledge. Our ancient tradition says the one important purpose of all knowledge is integration of the individual with the society. The question was raised in the Upanishad, what is tapas? Different answers were given, but ultimately the answer which found acceptance was tapas is swadhyay and pirvachan. Swadhyay is study, reflection, research, advance of knowledge, and pirvachan is communication and sharing the knowledge. Then we are told स्वाध्याय पिर्वचन abhyam na pirmadi tavyam. Do not neglect study to acquire new knowledge and sharing the knowledge with others. Through every new book, Akbar Sahab explores new areas. Maybe initially he does so to satisfy his own curiosity, but he does not stop there. As a true devotee of Ma Saraswati, or should I say Sharda Devi, because the Kashmiri impact on his writings can be seen very clearly. He does not stop after acquisition of knowledge. He picks up his pen and to share what is his new acquisition, pours out a stream of powerful words to weave an interesting narrative. As an Arabic proverb says, Al ilmu saidun wal kitabatuhu qaidun. The knowledge is like a wild animal. It is by reducing it into writing that you can tame it. Late Swami Rangnath Nandaji, a former chief of Ramakrishna Mission, in his famous work, Eternal Values for a Changing Society, says that at some point of time, we Indians stopped sharing knowledge, rather, we denied knowledge to our own people. And that weakened the society, and the weak society became vulnerable. He further said that right from the time we started our civilizational journey, India was recognized as a knowledge society, knowledge hub, the worshippers of Ma Saraswati. But devotion to Saraswati is completed only when the knowledge acquired is shared with others. Swamiji quotes a line from Shrimad Bhagavad, Saraswati Gyan Khalv Yatha Sati, which means that a scholar who imprisons knowledge within herself is not a devotee of Saraswati, rather, such a scholar is villain of Saraswati. If we look from this perspective, then Akbar Sahab is a true devotee of knowledge, as whatever new knowledge he acquires, he shares it with one and all on a regular basis. Our tradition uses a beautiful line to explain the purpose of knowledge. Tejas vina vadhitamastu. Whatever you read must become tejas. The knowledge must be so deeply internalized that it manifests itself in enlightening not only our own self but others as well. It must become the very part of our being. It must make us different from what we were. Literacy is not education. Knowledge is not education, but the growth of wisdom, the capacity to look upon others with compassion. That is what is necessary, and that is the purpose of knowledge. Finally, to highlight the importance of sharing knowledge, I may refer to Bhagavad Gita, which says, Ishtan Bhogan Hiva Deva Das Yante Yagya Bhavita Te Dattan Apidaya Ebhya Ya Bhukte Istena Evasa, which means that when one works with devotion and sincerity and attains his desired objectives, but wants to enjoy the fruit of his labor without sharing it with others, then Bhagavad Gita says that such a person can be described only as a robber. Whatever we have, knowledge, and there are many other things. It is because whatever we achieve is not due to our own personal efforts. The contribution of the society, directly or indirectly, also helps us in achieving our desired objectives. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Arif. As you said, the exact phrase is, knowledge grows only when you give it away, not when you keep it to yourself. May I now request Shruti, please?
Seated on the dais with us, Raksha Mantri, Shri Rajnath Singh ji, National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval Sahib, Governor of Bihar, Arif Mohammad Khan Sahib, Nirpend Mishra ji, and the raison d'etre for all of us coming together on this wonderful afternoon, our very own MJ Akbar Sahib. When I think of Akbar Sahib, I see a luminous figure in the landscape of Indian letters. He's an intellectual who, on the one hand, writes with the authority of scholarship, but at the same time, he has the grace of a storyteller. To call him an author, I think, is to understate the fact. There are three phrases that I would use for him. The first is that he is a maker of narratives. A maker of narratives who has opened many locked rooms in all our collective memory. The second, he's a craftsman of sentences. A craftsman of sentences who invites us into conversations about who we were in our past and who we are today. And the third, he is, as he said himself, after writing his 12th book, like a patient sculptor, ek shilpakar ki tarah, chiseling away at his marble. He frees voices that have been hitherto buried in stone, giving them freedom and giving them expression. So today we celebrate not only another penning of a book by this author, but also we celebrate his imaginative discipline in the manner in which he has put together his writing. My association with Akbar Sahib is, if I may say, 3 generations old, and therefore very deep. But I believe that what distinguishes his writing is conversational style that makes history breathe again. It's almost like history is sitting across you on a table, having a conversation with you. But beneath that ease, if I may say, lies a tremendous amount of dedicated research, excavating from historical facts, forgotten chronicles, and reassembling them with patience. And in every line that you will read, you will experience, on the one hand, the weight of archives, on the second, the echoes of chronicles, and on the third, ensuring that the scholarship capability is put in every single word. I believe his greatest art is that when he delves into a subject, he becomes the subject itself. And therefore, in this book, when he writes about astrology, it's almost as if you will see the Jyotish consulting his charts, while at the same time the faint murmur of fate reassembling the arc of history with respect to an empire. Now, astrology, ladies and gentlemen, is an intellectual achievement that belongs to India, whose roots lie deep within our civilizational life. It's a discipline that has been born as an edifice of thought, not only from the Vedic cosmology, but also matured through centuries of mathematical refinement and observational astronomy. We have in our annals ancient Indian scholars like Barahami Hira, who was a model of a scholar that combined the sky and society as two sides of a ledger. His work moved fluidly from the computation of planetary positions to their interpretation in human affairs. It has also been able to command a rare esteem across Indian society, venerated not merely as ritual practice, but as a serious body of knowledge that informs personal piety, communal rights, as well as defining life's decisive moments. In recent years, Jyotirvigyan has become a part of our pedagogy. It has become part of our curriculum in our universities. And finally, this influence of our astrology has even spilled beyond our shores, taking the old Silk Route across the seas to not only Persian shores, but Islamic shores, where learning networks have looked at those methods and texts of Indian astrology, adapted them, debated them, reshaped them, and which has impacted those societies and those civilizations across thousands of miles and kilometers. I'm by far a historian, but I would like to source Al-Biruni's curious eye that shows Indian astrology that has been tested, traveled, and looked across cultures in the knowledge place of the market of world knowledge and learning. Now, taken together, these facts present us a compact map of Indian astrology. It is on the one hand an indigenous craft that enjoys cultural relevance and relevance. On the other hand, it is a knowledge that has traveled and transformed many civilizations. And finally, it's also enlisted as a working instrument of governance in many ancient courts. But always, ladies and gentlemen, astrology sits on an uneasy border between precise calculation and human faith. Akbar Saab's book asks us to read all of these layers and see how both the heavens and the halls of power have multiplexed and shaped one another. Today, I'd like to dedicate a line that I have read to him, and I quote, "The act of looking backward is just like that of looking into the future, an act of divination. Is well called an historian of the future. The historian is just as well called, or even better so, a Jyotish of the past." That is the kind of historian today's author, M.J. Akbar Saab, represents. Now, I don't wish to come between the author and the reader, because coming between the author and the reader is like putting a hand over the channel of history that would like to directly speak to the readers. But I leave with this modest maxim that to come between an author and a reader is to interrupt a conversation across time. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, kindly do read this book. Let it speak to you like it has spoken to me. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Left me a bit speechless. May I now request the very revered brother, Nipindraji, please.
Honorable Raksha Mantri Ji, respected Minister Shri Scindia, Honorable Governor, Bihar, my ex-colleague, Shri Ajit Doval Ji, and of course, Akbar Sahab. Ladies and friends, Akbar Sahab is a very close friend, and therefore, to speak about him or narrate about his achievements in life will always be, for me, understatement. I can definitely say that in the galaxy of eminent journalists, public intellectual, and historian of our time, Sri Akbar will always find himself in the forefront. His learning and insightful understanding of India and the world, truly remarkable. His pioneering work in the field of journalism from the 1970s is well known to all of us. Perhaps to some it may be additional information that Sri Akbar was member of the editorial group of the Times of India at the age of 20. He has written a number of highly acclaimed books on modern and contemporary India. Apart from his well-known biography of Pandit Nehru, which was published about 3 decades back, he has written books like India, The Seas Within, The Past and Future of Pakistan, Jihad and Conflict Between Islam and Christianity. And in the last 4 or 5 years, he has completed 4 very acclaimed books. The first title is Gandhi's Hinduism, The Struggle Against Jinnah Islam, which came in 2020. The second is Dolali Sahib and the Black Jamidar, Racism and Revenge in the British Raj. The third book is Gandhi's A Life of 3 Campaigns. Now he has come up with a book on a very original theme. And perhaps I may say that it has not been explored earlier. Brings out many less known facets of Indian history. One of these is the great influence of Indian astrological tradition on Mughal emperor and princes, which is a remarkable example of the impact of Indian knowledge traditions in India and around the world. I must confess I didn't know that Akbar's birth was delayed by a few hours because Maulana Chand, who was the astrologer with Humayun, he thought that the most auspicious hour which would make him emperor, it had not come. And the method employed to delay that birth was that suddenly a hideous woman was thrust in the curtain around Hamida's Banu's bed, Hamida Banu being mother. The birth got delayed by few hours, and Akbar was born to become empire, the great king of India. There is another very interesting fact. Humayun was foretold about his death, and he even managed and rationed the supply of opium because he was used to taking it only for a week because he knew he's not going to survive. And this was told by the astrologer. The astrologers were called then Jyotish Raj, and there were a galaxy of them, some of them named by him in his research work, Neelkantha, Jahangir, Chintamani and Kesav Sharma, the Shah Jahan, Parmanand and Malaji, and many others like him. Some had even Bengali known astrologers like Balbhadra. Aurangzeb knew that after him the deluge, the empire would crumble, and therefore the title of this book, After Me, The Chaos. This book may be on the astrologer and their influence, but it is part of his contribution to the history of India. Akbar Sahab, not many would know, he's not a formal degree holder in history, but he is the foremost historian of our time. His erudition, deep research, meaningful insights into why India is what it is now, how it has traveled on the historical trajectories that distinguish it from other nations and civilizations, but also because of his quality to present a very balanced nationalistic perspective of the past, a perspective that, while being sensitive to the concerns of the present, nevertheless remains rooted in the actual historical evidence that has come down to us from the centuries past. He has filled many important gaps which were left behind by many professional historians and has greatly enriched our understanding of the nation's recent as well as not so recent past. Congratulate him on the publication of his latest book and wish him best for his future. In one of his conversations, if I may reveal, after he finished this book, he said that now I won't write anymore because it's very taxing, because you have to be very correct and to the point, and then the research work that you have to do, not many realize how much effort goes into that. But I know for certain that his friends and publishers and many others would still like him, that he contributes in this field, and perhaps very soon he may be launching another project. With these words, I once again thank him for inviting me to this function.
Thank you, sir. And now I really don't have the words to describe the affection and the any synonym of affection that I have received from truly an elder brother, Ajit ji, and for more decades than we really want to count. But, sir, if you can.
Respected Defense Minister, Manya Shri Rajnath Singh ji, our Minister for Communication, Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, Mahamahim Rajyapal of Bihar, Shri Ashif Prem Sahib, Shri Nipendra Mishra ji, my former colleague, and Mr. M. Jayagba. I really feel privileged to be here in this very distinguished gathering. It's a very important occasion for me. I'm grateful to Mr. Akbar for having called me here, and friends, many of whom are very dear, well-known faces. Thank you very much for being here on this occasion. I have got a very simple question. Much has been said, and there are many things extremely unique about this book. There are some things extremely unique about the great author of this book. I'll come to that later. But I have got one basic question, which, when I saw this book, that came to my mind. One was this, and I'd like to ask this question to my audience. How many of you believe that there is an X factor in life? That there is something which cannot be predicted on the basis of the facts that you can put on the table and say that there is something providential, there is something which cannot be explained by reason, logic, facts, or anything. This book basically is to give you an understanding of how in human life this factor has determined the course of history. This has been particularly profound amongst the people in the corridors of power and the battlefields of the youngs and the people who play the game of chance. There is a second factor, that this X factor, is it determinable? And if yes, can there be any parameters? One of the thinking or one of the hypothesis was that the statistical arrangements probably has got something to do with what happens in your life. What happens in your life is not all that you do, all that people do to you, not all the circumstances in which you live, but there is something that if Akbar is born 3 hours before, the destiny is different. If he's born beyond a point, or this thing like that, the destiny changes. This is a book which gives us an insight about how, during the Mughal time, the important decisions, the important influences, the important things that happened in their lives and what happened during that period. These emperors and these people who established one of the biggest empires of the world, they were also security. People who believe in unpredictable are those who are insecure. And people who are insecure, they try to find solutions to that. And that is where the entire game of the astronomy, astrology, and this complex comes. That can there be some corrective factors by which you can do that. Now, as I said, when I read this book, the first thing that came to my mind is, after me the chaos. Who is saying this and to whom? And we knew about Louis XV telling that after me the deluge. And we knew that the French Revolution was coming. So entire thing was going. But here, he was knowing it when he was seeing the manifest circumstances and the surroundings in which the things were taking place. Here, the man who said that, or the man who knew it, was one Fazil Khan, one of the astrologers, who told this about Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb knew it and confided in his son, Bahadur Shah, as the book reveals to me, that he knew that after me, the Mughal Empire will disappear. Everything that Fazil Khan had written about my life has come true. This too will come true. There will be my successors who will be inept, who will be incompetent, who will not be able to carry forward this thing, and therefore it will come to an end. The question is, if Aurangzeb knew it, why did he do it? And could it be changed? He did it in spite of that. And he was telling it with a tremendous sense of a remorse and a self-pity. As you know, that his last days were very, very painful days. Ladies and gentlemen, as all of you know, and I think my predecessor very rightly said, Mr. M.J. Akbar is not only a very accomplished writer, a very original researcher. There is a lot of novelty in what he writes and what he says. He selects his subjects, so there is something unexpectedly that we hardly know that, well, there is so much of a material which is available. And then it goes into the depth with so much of precision that probably you cannot miss about the authenticity that it carries, the weight of logic that it has. And in this particular book, I've seen that the sources from where he has derived his material is very, very expensive. It's not only about the Mughals he has touched upon, that how beyond the geographies and the time, this sentiment of belief in the astrology or the future or predictability, these things stay even in other parts of the Islamic world. And this also came in conflict. That is why Islam permits the study of the stars and how this thing is, but does not permit and does not allow any predictions or any predictability about it. It is only the God who knows and nobody else knows. And therefore, anybody who does any predictions about the future is probably something that's very un-Islamic. But in spite of that, it is not only amongst the Mughals, but also amongst the other Muslim societies. And it was not only at the level of the rulers, but as we come to know about it through his book and others, and the references that he has made, that even the society was deeply affected by that. And it has continued and stayed there for long. I must compliment Mr. Akbar for having taken up this subject. It can be seen from various points of view, also that how there was a convergence of knowledge in the Indian society, how this went beyond the belief in the faith system, how this was something that people believed in it, practiced it, and still probably remained as a devout Muslims, but taking upon what was something which was indigenous or a civilizational part of the Indian society or the Hindu society, where astrology and astronomy were an integral part of it. So this can be seen and studied from the various points of view. It also shows the insecurity of what the Mughal rulers themselves were having, even when they were having their fights with the local Rajput kingdoms and all these things. So it was not every time a very, very smooth sailing for them also. So I think there are a lot of new aspects and new dimensions that have been added. Uh, uh, Even something that I never knew, that Akbar, as Mr. Mishra also said, Akbar constituted a formal position of a Raj Jyotishi in his court, and who was there were the Brahmins from Banaras who were assigned these duties. So in running of the state, in running of the in decision making process. I must say that Mr. Akbar has always done great justice to the subject that he has taken. I'm sure he will take many more such subjects of interest. As very rightly said by our Minister for Communication, that he said that the scholarly application of the scholarly pursuit and the diligence with which he goes into the historical details is something very, very commendable. I must compliment him, and I must urge all of you to really go through the book. Thank you very much.
Once again, my deep, deep gratitude to those who have spoken before, and especially to our Raksha Mantri, who's really made time to come and join this function. And sir, please, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir.
श्रीमान निर्मल जी मिश्र, श्रीमान अजीत जी डोभाल, बिहार के गवर्नर, मेरे मित्र जनाब आरिफ साहब, सबको श्रीमान मैंने कहा, लेकिन एक श्रीमंत भी बैठे हुए हैं मेरे परिवार, श्रीमंत ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया, हमारे मित्र यमजी अकबर साहब, देवी व सज्जनों, आई विल डिलीवर माय स्पीच इन नॉट ओनली हिंदी बट हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स्ड इंग्लिश. जनाब यमजी अकबर साहब की नई पुस्तक के रिलीज पर आज यहाँ आप सबके बीच मौजूद होकर मुझे सचमुच प्रसन्नता हो रही है. यमजी अकबर साहब एक ऐसी शख्सियत हैं जिन्हें किसी एक प्रोफेशन या किसी एक कैटेगरी में रखना यह कोई आसान काम नहीं है. वे एक एकम्प्लिस्ड जर्नलिस्ट हैं, एक सीजन्ड ऑथर हैं और डिप्लोमेसी की गहरी समझ रखने वाले हैं. उनकी राइटिंग की रेंज बेहद वाइड है. इतिहास से लेकर समकालीन मुद्दों तक उन्होंने हर विषय में अपने लेखन से एक गहरी छाप भी छोड़ी है. मैंने भले ही एमजे अकबर साहब की कोई भी किताब पूरी नहीं पढ़ी है, मैं ईमानदारी से इसे स्वीकार करता हूं, लेकिन जितना भी पढ़ने का अवसर मिला है उनसे मैं बेहद प्रभावित हुआ. मैं एक बात जो साफ कह सकता हूं वह है कि एमजे अकबर साहब की इंटेलेक्चुअल रीगर और ऑब्जेक्टिविटी उनके लेखन में साफ तौर पर देखी जा सकती है. उनकी पहली पुस्तक इंडिया द सीज विद इन चैलेंजेस टू ए नेशंस यूनिटी के प्रकाशन से लेकर आज तक एमजे अकबर जी ने बहुत डाइवर्स विषयों पर लिखा है. उनकी किताबें काफी बैलेंस्ड, नुआंस्ड होती हैं. इसे सभी मानते हैं जिन लोगों ने भी उसे पढ़ा है. और साथ ही जो उनकी स्टोरी टेलिंग है, मैं कह सकता हूं कि वह बेमिसाल है. यहां पर मैं एक बात और जोड़ना चाहता हूं कि उनकी सभी राइटिंग्स में एक बात कॉमन है, वह है उनकी इंटेंसिटी ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशन और उनका कमिटमेंट टू हिज क्राफ्ट। इतिहास जैसे विषय पर उनकी पकड़ काफी मजबूत है। जब उनके इतिहास के ज्ञान का संगम उनकी धारदार लेखन शैली से होता है तो मैं कह सकता हूं कि उसका प्रभाव बहुत ही जबरदस्त होता है। देवियों सज्जनों, मैं यहां यमजे अकबर जी की राइटिंग स्किल्स का एक एग्जाम्पल इस किताब से आपके समक्ष रखता हूं। उन्होंने लिखा है कि औरंगजेब के जन्म से कुछ दिन पहले जहांगीर ने आकाश में एक भाले के आकार का कॉमेट देखा। इससे 3 वर्ष पहले जब दारा शिकोह का जन्म हुआ था तब सूर्य ग्रहण लगा था और एमजे अकबर जी ने इन दोनों घटनाओं को जोड़ते हुए बहुत ही सुंदर एक निष्कर्ष निकाला है। वे लिखते हैं, बोथ एस्ट्रल इवेंट्स were considered ominous by Jahangir. In retrospect, they might serve as a metaphors, and the Dara Shikoh was eclipsed, but the Aurangzeb meteor burned out the empire. एक बेहद कट्टरवादी शासक था, इसमें कहीं दो मत नहीं, जिसने अन्य धर्मों और विशेषकर हिंदू धर्म के लोगों को बहुत ही प्रताड़ित किया। इतिहास इस बात का साक्षी है। लेकिन ज्योतिष विद्या की शक्ति इतनी प्रबल थी कि वह भी उसे नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सका। यमजे अकबर जी ने अपनी किताब में दिखाया है कि उसके हारोस्कोप में पहले से लिखा था उसका शासन कैसा होगा और उसके जाने के बाद क्या होगा। और औरंगजेब ने खुद कहा था कि मेरे बाद फिर क्या आस होगा। यही यमजे अकबर जी की पुस्तक का टाइटल भी है, आफ्टर मी क्यास, एस्ट्रोलॉजी इन द मुगल एम्पायर। और इस बात से न सिर्फ यमजे अकबर जी ने की लेखनी की अद्भुत शक्ति का पता चलता है बल्कि एस्ट्रोलॉजी की शक्ति का भी पता चलता है। देवियों सज्जनों, हम बहुत बड़े ब्रह्मांड में रहते हैं। ज्योतिष हमें सिखाता है कि ब्रह्मांड में एक लय है, सब एक दूसरे से कनेक्टेड है। जो कुछ भी हम सभी के जीवन में घट रहा है वह माइक्रो या मैक्रो रूप से कनेक्टेड है और इस बात को हम बटरफ्लाई इफेक्ट से भी समझ सकते हैं। किसी भी सिस्टम में एक छोटा सा बदलाव, एक छोटी सी घटना अनएंटिसिपेटेड चेन ऑफ इवेंट्स क्रिएट कर सकती है। कल्पना कीजिए कि आप सुबह अपने घर से सिर्फ 30 सेकंड देर से निकलते हैं क्योंकि आप अपनी चाबियां भूल गए थे। इस छोटी सी देरी की वजह से आपकी बस छूट जाती है और आप अगली बस पकड़ते हैं। उसी बस में आप किसी ऐसे व्यक्ति से मिलते हैं जो बाद में आपका बहुत अच्छा दोस्त बन जाता है। उस छोटी सी घटना ने आपकी पूरी जिंदगी का रास्ता बदल दिया। यही है बटरफ्लाई इफेक्ट। एक बहुत ही छोटी घटना भी समय के साथ एक बड़े और अनएक्सपेक्टेड परिणाम को जन्म दे सकती है। अब सोचिए हमारी दुनिया कितनी जुड़ी हुई है। सब कुछ एक दूसरे से जुड़ी है। आपका काम, आपके फैसले, यहां तक कि आपकी चाल। और जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा, क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया आपस में जुड़ी है, सभी ग्रह नक्षत्र भी हमारी जिंदगी पर असर डाल सकते हैं। मेरा मानना है कि पॉलिटिक्स एथिक्स के बिना अधूरी है। ऐसा ही मैं मानता हूं कि विज्ञान धर्म के बिना अधूरा है। यदि धर्म न हो तो विज्ञान भी अपनी जड़ों से कट जाएगा। इसलिए भी प्राचीन भारत में टेम्पोरल और स्पिरिचुअल डोमेन्स अलग अलग नहीं माने जाते थे। उदाहरण के लिए गुप्त राजवंश के समय में मैथमेटिक्स, एस्ट्रोनॉमी और कैलेंड्रिक्स और डिविनेशन मीन्स रेयर साइंस के ज्ञान और एस्ट्रोलॉजी को एक ही सब्जेक्ट के रूप में से देखा जाता था, जिसे ज्योतिष कहते थे। ज्योतिष शास्त्र का अर्थ है द साइंस ऑफ स्टार्स। ज्योतिष का विषय यह पढ़ना था कि ग्रह नक्षत्र इंसान की जिंदगी को कैसे प्रभावित करते हैं। और यह माना जाता था कि ग्रहों की चाल और स्थिति न सिर्फ मौसम को बल्कि इंसान के स्वभाव और व्यक्तित्व से लेकर उसके भाग्य तक सब कुछ प्रभावित करता है। उदाहरण के लिए जब भगवान बुद्ध का जन्म हुआ था तो एक एस्ट्रोलॉजर ने कहा था कि यह बच्चा या तो महान राजा बनेगा या एक महान धार्मिक शिक्षक बनेगा। और हम सभी जानते हैं कि भगवान बुद्ध दुनिया के सबसे महान शिक्षक बने। भारत के ज्ञान और विज्ञान का लोहा पूरा विश्व मानता था। 11वीं शताब्दी के सईद उल अंदालुसी ने भारत के बारे में लिखा है, द फर्स्ट नेशन टू हैव कल्टिवेटेड साइंस इज इंडिया। द फर्स्ट नेशन टू हैव कल्टिवेटेड साइंस इज इंडिया। और उसने आगे लिखा है, द इंडियंस हैव मेड ग्रेट स्ट्राइड्स इन द स्टडी ऑफ नंबर्स एंड ऑफ ज्योमेट्री। They have acquired immense information and reached the zenith in their knowledge of the movements of the stars and the secrets of the skies as well as other mathematical studies. साथियों, 773 ईस्वी में जब सिंध के राजा का एक प्रतिनिधिमंडल बगदाद आमंत्रित किया गया था की थी, और वह अमूल्य उपहार एक हैंड रिटेन मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट थी जिसे समझाने के लिए उज्जैन से ज्योतिषी भी भेजे गए थे। और अब वर्ल्ड में इस मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट को द ग्रेट सिंध हिंद कहा जाता है। और इसमें साइंस, एस्ट्रोनॉमी, एस्ट्रोलॉजी और इसके साथ साथ मैथमेटिक्स के बारे में विविध और नई विचारों का भी इसमें समावेश था। कहने का मतलब यह है कि ज्योतिष में एक जादुई शक्ति थी जो प्राचीन भारत से निकलकर पूरी दुनिया में फैली। आज भी जब हम ग्रह नक्षत्र देखने की बात करते हैं तो याद रखें कि हमारे पूर्वजों ने न सिर्फ ग्रहों की स्थिति के बारे में हमें बताया था बल्कि जीवन के रहस्यों को भी उन्होंने उजागर किया। और यह बात मुगलों ने भी मानी और इस बात का प्रमाण है यमजे अकबर जी की यह किताब। उन्होंने दिखाया है कि कैसे हर मुगल राजाओं के पास अपने एस्ट्रोलॉजर्स थे, ज्योतिषी थे। अकबर ने मुख्य ज्योतिषी के लिए एक फॉर्मल पोजीशन की स्थापना भी की थी जिसे ज्योतिक राय या ज्योतिष राजा कहा जाता था। पत्रकारिता एक सीरियस और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी वाला काम है। यमजे अकबर साहब ने अपनी पत्रकारिता के कार्य को पूरी ईमानदारी और निष्ठा के साथ निभाया है और वे अपना काम पूरी गंभीरता से करते हैं। बट ही डज नॉट टेक हिमसेल्फ टू सीरियसली। मैं सही कह रहा हूं गलत? और यह उनके मिलनसार स्वभाव से ही स्पष्ट होती है। यमजे अकबर साहब ने अपनी किताब हैव पेन विल ट्रेवल की शुरुआत में लिखा है कि जर्नलिस्ट के अंत में लिस्ट है, क्योंकि एक जर्नलिस्ट की जितनी लोग मदद करते हैं वह लिस्ट लंबी है। और यह ग्रेटिट्यूड की भावना उनको एक अच्छा इंसान बनाती है, एक अच्छा पत्रकार बनाती है और एक अच्छा लेखक बनाती है। और देवियों और सज्जनों, भारत के बारे में स्वामी विवेकानंद जी का विश्वास था कि भारत विश्व की महाशक्ति बनकर उभरेगा। लेकिन उनका यह विश्वास ग्रहों और नक्षत्रों के आधार पर नहीं था, बल्कि इस बात पर आधारित था कि भारत के लोग इस कार्य के लिए अथक परिश्रम करेंगे। क्योंकि ज्योतिष भाग्य को स्वीकार करने का नाम नहीं बल्कि उसे आकार देने का विज्ञान है। यह हमें चेतावनी देता है कि कहां सावधानी बरतनी है और कहां हमको अपनी ऊर्जा लगानी है ताकि हम अपने जीवन के सपनों को साकार कर सकें। बहुत से लोग ज्योतिष को भाग्यवाद से जोड़कर देखते हैं, मानते हैं कि तारे ग्रह सब कुछ तय कर देते हैं और मनुष्य का भाग्य पहले से लिखा हुआ है। लेकिन ज्योतिष को सकारात्मक दृष्टि से समझें तो यह एक मार्गदर्शक शास्त्र है जो हमें हमारी क्षमताओं और संभावनाओं का बोध कराता है, और यह हमें बताता है कि ग्रहों की स्थिति हमारे जीवन के विभिन्न चरणों में क्या चुनौतियां या अवसर ला सकती है, लेकिन अंतिम निर्णय यह हमारा ही होता है। सुधांशु त्रिवेदी बैठे हैं, यहां कोई डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन से हो सकती है। स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने एक बार कहा था, अपने लक्ष्यों को अपनी क्षमताओं के स्तर पर न ले जाएं, बल्कि अपनी क्षमताओं को अपने लक्ष्यों की ऊंचाई तक उठाएं। कहने का मतलब है कि यदि आपके हॉरोस्कोप में कोई ग्रह योग चैलेंजेस को दर्शाता है, चुनौतियां दर्शाता है, तो यह हमें हतोत्साहित करने के बजाय सशक्त बनाने का माध्यम बन सकता है। ज्योतिष का ज्ञान हमें बताता है कि हमारी महत्वाकांक्षाएं ग्रहों से ऊपर है। इस प्रकार ज्योतिष भाग्यवाद प्रमोट नहीं करता है, बल्कि कर्मवाद को प्रमोट करता है। और गीता में आप जानते ही हैं, भगवान कृष्ण ने अर्जुन को उपदेश दिया है, कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्तु मा फलेषु कदाचन, कर्म ही करना है। और यह हमें याद दिलाता है कि तारे तो चमकते रहेंगे, लेकिन हमारी मेहनत ही हमें उन तारों तक पहुंचा सकती है। तारे तो चमकते ही रहेंगे, लेकिन हमारी मेहनत ही हमें उन तारों तक पहुंचा सकती है। हम में से अधिकांश लोग किसी न किसी रूप में भविष्य जानने का प्रयास करते हैं, सभी लोग, हम भी, यहां पर बैठे हुए अधिकांश लोग, आप लोग भी, कई लोग ऐसे हैं जानने के लिए प्रेरित करता है। और हम सोचते हैं कि यदि हमें आने वाला समय पता चल जाए तो हम विपत्तियों और कठिनाइयों से बच सकेंगे और कुछ उपाय करके अपने लिए शुभ फल अर्जित कर सकेंगे। लेकिन अंततः नियति या डेस्टिनी यही सर्वोपरि है। एक प्रसिद्ध छंद है, कर्म गति तारे नाही तरी, मुनि वशिष्ठ से पंडित ज्ञानी, शोध के लगन धरी। सीता हरण मरण दशरथ को, मन में विपत्ति परी। पढ़ा होगा इनमें से कई लोगों। यानी महाज्ञानी मुनि वशिष्ठ ने खूब शोध कर, खूब विचार करके और सारे हॉरोस्कोप वगैरह देखने के बाद यह विवाह लगन तय की थी, परंतु उसके बाद भी राजा दशरथ की मृत्यु, राम और सीता का वनवास और सीता जी का अपहरण सब हुआ। राम सीता जी का पूरा जीवन कष्ट में बीता। इससे एक बात स्पष्ट है कि दैव गति टाले ना ही टली। यानी संसार के सबसे बड़े ज्ञानी और ज्योतिषी भी उस कर्म गति को नहीं बदल सकते जो पूर्व निर्धारित है। उस कर्म गति को नहीं बदल सकते जो पूर्व निर्धारित है। किंतु इसका यह अर्थ नहीं लगाया जाना चाहिए कि हम निराशा या निष्क्रियता में डूब जाएं। इसका यही संदेश है कि हमारे हाथ में केवल एक ही साधन है, वह है कर्म, और उसी कर्म को हमारा सबसे बड़ा धर्म मानना चाहिए। आज हम भारतवासी इसी कर्म पथ पर अग्रसर हैं। अनथक परिश्रम, अडिग संकल्प के साथ हम अपने देश को इतना सक्षम और सशक्त बना रहे हैं। कोई भी अनदेखी चुनौती, ऐसी चुनौती जो दिखाई नहीं देती है, कोई भी अप्रत्याशित यानी अनएक्सपेक्टेड परिस्थिति हमें विचलित न कर सके। नियति या डेस्टिनी हमारे भाग्य का निर्धारण करती है और कर्म ही उसे फलीभूत करता है। और इस विश्वास के साथ हम सबको एकजुट होकर निरंतर आगे बढ़ते रहना है। साथियों, वर्तमान में भारत दुनिया की चौथी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है। भारत 2030 तक अनुमानित $7.3 ट्रिलियन की जीडीपी के साथ तीसरी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बनने की राह पर है। इंटरनेशनल मॉनिटरी फंड के अनुमान के अनुसार यदि एवरेज ग्रोथ रेट्स को देखा जाए तो भारत 2038 तक परचेजिंग पावर पैरिटी की दृष्टि से विश्व की दूसरी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बनने की राह पर आगे बढ़ रहा है। यमजे अकबर साहब ने एक जगह लिखा है, यू मे रिकॉग्नाइज द प्रेजेंट विदाउट द नॉलेज ऑफ द पास्ट बट यू कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड इट। इसलिए अगर भारत का वर्तमान उदय समझना हो तो हमें 11 साल के हमारे कार्य देखने होंगे। यह सब अगर संभव हुआ है ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म्स के कारण ही हुआ। वहीं अगर आप साउथ एशिया के कुछ देशों की हालत देखें तो आप समझेंगे कि भारत कितनी स्टेबिलिटी के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। और एमजे अकबर साहब ने पाकिस्तान के बारे में अपनी एक किताब में लिखा था, पाकिस्तान एक जेली स्टेट है और जेली स्टेट एक ऐसा देश माना जाता है जो हमेशा अस्थिर रहता है मगर बिखरता नहीं है। आज दुनिया भी पाकिस्तान के बारे में यह समझ सकती है, लेकिन आज जैसे पाकिस्तान की हालत है उस संबंध में बिखरेगा या क्या होगा ये ऊपर वाला ही जाने, मैं नहीं कहना चाहता हूं। साथियों, अंत में मैं एमजे अकबर साहब की उन किताब के लिए अनेक बधाई देता हूं और इस किताब के बेस्ट सेलर बनने की मैं अपनी शुभकामनाएं भी देता हूं। और इट इज ऑफन सेड दैट द जर्नलिज्म इज द फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट ऑफ हिस्ट्री, मगर मैं यह बात पूरे विश्वास के साथ कहता हूं कि जब जर्नलिस्ट की भूमिका में एमजे अकबर साहब जैसी शख्सियत होती है तो उनका लिखा हुआ हिस्ट्री का फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट भी होता है और लास्ट वर्ड भी होता है। इसलिए मैं आशा करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में वे ऐसे ही अनेक इंटरेस्टिंग और इंटरव्यूइंग विषयों पर लिखते रहेंगे। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं पुस्तक के लेखक एमजे अकबर साहब को हृदय से शुभकामनाएं देते हुए अपना निवेदन समाप्त करता हूं।
Elders, friends, everyone in the audience. As that perhaps you recognize, words fail me a little. Thank you. Perhaps no two words in the dictionary are more powerful than thank you, if it comes from the heart. एक प्रश्न तो मेरा मैं लगता है कि हमारे